so when people emotionally blackmail you, it, you know, just even the topic makes me go, oh, this is a real uncomfortable one.
Mm-hmm.
This is a real yuck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when people do it, how to handle it, how to be aware of it,
Mm-hmm.
how to prevent it from happening again,
Mm-hmm.
or not, or how to say, bring it on, I've learnt my lesson, let's just make sure it's, you know, 100% I've learnt my lesson, not 99%, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just such a ick.
Debz is a stressologist. She will stretch your mindset to think bigger than you've ever thought before, with follow-through techniques that are realistic and achievable to blow any fear out of your mind. Moira is a mindset cultivator. She will help you align your personal trinity of self-trust, inner awareness, and self-confidence so that you discover and share your unique gifts and purpose. Together, their goal with these conversations is to share how our inclinations do not always work in our best interest and to provide the knowledge to leverage the gifts that already exist within each one of us. Their desire is to help you learn how to access the habits and behaviors that will lead to positive change and your best quality of life. Welcome to your deliciously motivated mindset.
Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good morning. Oh, Deb's yawning already and we haven't even started.
Yeah, it was a good evening. I was like, yeah. Even though it's, what time is it here? 10 to 9 in the morning in New Zealand. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Here. Welcome,
Yep.
dear listeners. Here we are with another episode of our Deliciously Motivated Mindset. And we've got a goodie. We always have goodies. Like, what am I saying? So welcome, Deb. How are you?
I couldn't imagine not saying we've got a goodie.
I know.
I just have to say.
I know. It's just like this. I think this is episode 73 or something.
Oh, wow.
And it's like,
well, there's some goodies.
Yeah, we're
there's at least
in a
72.
Rhythm.
Yeah,
exactly.
At least there's 72 goodies prior to this one.
Absolutely. So
I'm great.
Before, oh, you're great. Awesome.
You asked the question. I just realized that.
I know.
Yeah,
I just realized
great,
that.
Yeah.
So before we get into our conversation for today, we like to just take a wee moment and rate our energy. And what we do for this is on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 is like really calm. You're totally at peace, zenned out. And 10 is, oh my God, I don't know what the hell to do. And I'm stuck and need help and chaos and crazy trains.
Pickle. Yeah. Yeah, that's the one.
And so, you know, and I really encourage people to use this rating system throughout your day. Just check in. How are you feeling? How's your thinking process? How are you feeling in your own body, in your own self? And just, it's never to shame yourself or think, oh, there's something wrong. But it's creating awareness. That's what this is all about. So we will check in now, and then we'll check in again at the end of our conversation and see if there was a change. So, my dear.
Perfect.
I
know, I just was like, oh no, now I've got to rate myself.
That's right. Like, darn.
I would say, I'm going to say a 2 because all of a sudden I've probably yawned.
Yes.
Right now, 3 times in the last 2 minutes or so, which is really odd. Well, I'm thinking odd. So I'm going to say a 2, although my mind feels like it's complete, but my body just went woomph down a level. So I'm going to say 2.
Okay.
Yep. And there's no right or wrong answer.
There is no right or wrong answer. Something that I do when I'm doing energy work with people, sometimes yawning is actually a really cool sign of blowing off energy. So maybe you're just letting go some stuff that
I'm all for blowing off.
Blowing off. So you're at a 2. I'm going to put myself, actually, our listeners probably know this by now, but before we press record, we talk for at least an hour, sometimes more, and we resolve everything.
Yeah.
But I said to you that when I first started chatting today that I was really tired. And I'm still feeling a bit tired. So you know, I'm going to put myself at a 2 also. But it's a good tired. It's not like a misunderstood or not quite sure, it's like, yeah, no, I get it. It's okay. I'm okay with this.
Yeah, I don't feel like I need to go back to bed too. I just feel all of a sudden my shoulders have gone down. I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Yeah.
And that's what I was trying to say, and really encouraging our listeners, is that it's just to have that awareness. Oh, there's a little bit of tension here. Oh, there's, maybe I need to focus on some deep breaths or so.
Well, that's in everything. If you can have that awareness, it makes it's so empowering to allow you to function.
Yeah.
Or not function.
Yeah. Oh, making a choice, right?
With your reality. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh.
So today we're going to, and I will give us our drum roll. When people emotionally blackmail you or blackmail us. When people
a-holes. Oh, whoops. Did go straight in. A-holes.
So what does that mean to you?
Well, blackmail, the word blackmail is already a yuck word.
It's a charged word for sure.
Yeah, when you say blackmail, I go to the extremes. I go to the mafia movies. I go, because I do watch a bit of those type of movies. I go to the absolute extremes of that. And even though we're not going to cut your hands off, but sometimes you feel like physically cut your hands off. Sometimes you can feel immobilized or stuck or from the emotional. And, I do know, to me, emotional is much heavier than something physical.
Yeah, it's because it can sneak up on you without you really knowing it, whereas physical is like right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when people emotionally blackmail you, it, just even the topic makes me go, oh, this is a real uncomfortable one. This is a real yuck. When people do it, how to handle it, how to be aware of it, how to prevent it from happening again or not, or how to say, bring it on, I've learnt my lesson, let's just make sure it's, 100% I've learnt my lesson, not 99%, and it's just such a ick. It's just such an icky thing when people emotionally blackmail you. And I'd love to know what people thought of the title, before we really get into it, because to me, it's just such a icky, yucky, and if somebody said to me, oh, I'm being emotionally blackmailed, I would instantly go to, oh God, here we go. What are we in for here? How's this story going to unravel? And we know definitely the steps to get out is accountability to yourself of what role you've played and strategies. I would definitely say that. But it's just such an ick thing when people emotionally blackmail you.
I completely agree with what you've said. I think that for me, even before like getting into what did you do to create it, is just to be aware, because sometimes people are not.
Yeah, aware, right? Recognize, aware / recognize. Yeah,
exactly.
Just so people know what it means. Yeah.
And the key piece here is, and I've said this to clients for years, and Deb, you know this, put your hand over your heart. Just stay present and see, how do you feel about yourself in this environment or in this situation? Do you feel calm? Do you feel empowered? Do you feel confident? Do you feel worthy? Do you feel peaceful, happy, balanced? And if not, because let's face it, when you've got somebody emotionally blackmailing you, it takes away layers of what I just said, right?
Yeah, and it's yucky.
It is yucky.
Just even just when I could feel my body go, oh, that word, just to feel it instantly. It's just like, oh God, here we go again, right. And the awareness, that's for anything though.
Of course, it is. Yeah.
Awareness, alertness, open your eyes and see it. Definitely there's a lot of other steps after that. But the moment you stop and recognize it or label it or whatever, there is that ease in your heart to go, oh, I know what that is.
Right.
It's like when people go, oh, he's a narcissist or she's a narcissist. And then they go, oh, it is, if we look at the emotionally blackmail, you know, I talk about when you're highly charged on a word, it's just a word, it's a dictionary. That's it. So just label it as a dictionary. You know, emotional blackmail, or emotionally, you know, it is an icky word, but it's just a word. But the moment you can acknowledge it as just a word, that alone takes massive amount of weight off.
Right. But here's the other part about it, because if you wanted a softer way of looking at it, you could say emotionally manipulated. And that actually then helps you, or in my mind, this would help you say, hey, wait a minute, nobody gets to manipulate me or hold me accountable for something unless I say so. Like I have to have an agreement for somebody to say, do this for me and you'll get that, or do this for me and I'll and then you can have this, right? Because it can be kind of surreptitious, right? You said yourself about the difference between emotional and physical, because emotional can sneak up on you, particularly if you don't have a high level of self-awareness, self-confidence, and self-love, right? That if you think
that's
that
last one you just said. Yeah. You know, when I think about emotionally blackmailing, it is one that, you know, if a friend said, I think I'm being emotionally blackmailed, you would, and a friend came to you and said that, you would do whatever you could to get themselves out, because it's just such a powerful and impactful thing that people just go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it is a demand. It is a demand on what people are expecting. And, you know, I mean, in my role, I hear it a lot, and you would in your role, you know, as the consultant you are, you know, you would hear it a lot, and there'd be different levels of it.
Exactly.
You know, you hear you know, how we rate ourselves as 0 to 10, you know, you would hear the 10s and you would hear the 1s.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't actually matter if it's a 1 or if it's a 10. It's still what it is. And to me, it might be a 1, but to that person it might be a 10 is the other thing. Is it doesn't matter. It's still that. You can't,
you can't tell
this or take that away.
You can't ever say, you can hold space for somebody who is exploring a trigger or a manipulation or a instance of being blackmailed emotionally, and I can look at something and go, oh my gosh, that to me is a 7, but maybe to that person it's a 2. So it's it's never about saying, oh, well, it's this because that person said so. It's always about coming home to you and saying, how is this impacting me? How is this limiting me? Is this holding me back? Is this making me play a smaller game than what I actually am capable of?
It's definitely opens up the questioning process, but you've just got to be careful. If I'm going to say careful with that questioning process, or wise or sharp, or, you know, that it doesn't take you into that self-worth low slump.
And shame. So much. This one's something that comes up a lot with the clients that I work with. It's the shame. I should have known better. How come I didn't do something sooner?
Shame and guilt is
They're such soul destroyers.
It's quite funny you say, well, not funny, but, you know, it's funny you say the shame, because, you know, how did I not know? I've been through this before, or my sister's had this before, you know, and they just, you know, they talk about the red flags. Well, there's red, green, whatever frickin' color you want to label those alert flags that we don't see. You know, but they're there, but it's, you know, I've had this before. This happened in every single relationship. How have I not seen? You just haven't been, and that is so sad, I think, when people say, how did I not see this? Right. This was coming. It's like, you did see it, but you just, at that time, you chose to do the best you could. So, you know, that whole, you had to, you know, put your pants on that way to get through that day. You had to do whatever it was, because there was, you know, far greater things that had to take a priority, you know, over that. And it can just, But it is that shame. Oh, how did I not see that before? My sister's been in a relationship like this, and I told her and I helped her get out, and now I'm in the same relationship. It's like, you just, and that's that emotional self-talk shite that will take you out of everything.
Completely. But watch the pattern in that, because we're talking about when people emotionally blackmail you or us. But then in your dialogue, that's what they're doing. That shame is carrying it on, right? It's just taking over. Now you don't need that person doing whatever it was they were doing, because
do it yourself.
You just stepped in. It's do it yourself project now.
The emotional, I talk about the emotional and the physical blackmail. I use the mafia. Anyway, but that physical is done. Yep, done, and you have to live with it. But then the emotional comes into it as well after that physical, and that is the heavy one. And I'm not saying everybody's centered and poised and amazing at everything they do in life, because you've got to have those self-doubts that snap you out of wherever you're at or whatever. They do help you. The key is to recognize, alert, be aware, wake up, whatever you want to label it, to move out of that slump or move out of that spot or just move out of that.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That rut that you might be stuck in. But that's the thing, is the awareness means, so in what we're talking about here, about sometimes we can inherit the beliefs or the way of talking to ourselves. The myth. Yeah, there you go. We inherited the myth of, oh, we're good for nothing, or, oh yeah, we never recognized the red flags. But something that
I'm so stupid.
Yeah, exactly. So something that I really encourage people with is that rather than say, oh, I suck, how many times do I have to do this before I get it right? Or I should have seen it coming, or I did the same thing last time and blah, blah, blah. Instead of that, because that, to me, that's like the snowball going down the hill. It's bigger, bigger and bigger. Whereas if you could learn to unconditionally love yourself and know that you're always doing the best you can where you are with what you know.
Always on track.
Yes.
Yeah.
So therefore, if you could take the seat of a compassionate observer, and you could look at that pattern and go, okay, beloved, how many times do you need to do this before you actually release it or make a different choice, and see what comes up? Because the answer, when we do that, the answer is there. We just get too caught up in that snowball analogy, as opposed to saying, no, wait, how many times do I need to do it? And that, you see, that to me creates a bit more of a impassioned way of saying, oh, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm good. Okay. So let's journal it out. Let's really look at, what did I learn about myself? What do I believe about myself? Do I need to set some boundaries in place? Do I need to sit and be on my own for a while and set up my own snow globe of protection, visualization, whatever it is we need to do to help ourselves feel whole and complete exactly where we are?
Yeah. Then
look at going back into relationship with the people around you or with new people, or right, but it's from that space of centered awareness that you're exactly on track, in the right place with the right things.
And you've just made something so simple, but yet then people can just go, but that sounds so complicated, or that sounds so hard, or that sounds like so much work, or so much effort, or, oh God, where do I start? You just
almost
you just start. Yeah. You just start. And if you start at step 3, who cares? You just start. It doesn't, you don't have to start at step 1. Just
And
start.
it doesn't matter how big or small that start step is.
Yeah.
Because all of those statements that you just said about, oh, it'll take so long, oh, it's so hard, do you know that all of those types of statements are actually saying to yourself, you don't matter, you're not worth it?
Yeah. And being healthy is what you say to yourself as well. It's not just what you eat, drink, whatever. It's all part of that stuff. And if you're saying that, you're emotionally blackmailing yourself right again.
Exactly.
Yep.
You're just
and
carrying it on. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's going down that hill, getting more and more, bigger and bigger. And that's I just see that more and more. And I'm going to bring up one of the things, emotionally blackmail you. One of the things that I found were really, really, really big was that Me Too movement.
A quick wee message before we get back to this episode. You can get access to a special gift Moira and Debz have put together for you. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift. When you sign up, you'll receive instant access to an inner peace kit and the 30 Days of Wisdom program, both of which is intended to help you feel deliciously motivated right away. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift.
And I'm going to say was, because I don't hear it as much now.
Yeah, neither do I.
But that alone was that emotional blackmail. That, well, if you're going to go public, I won't put you into this movie. Your career's going to be, it's those little remarks. You can't be gay in this industry, so you have to hide yourself.
Right.
There's all those little remarks, those little comments, those things. But you can at any time stop that.
Yep.
But you go into, and the more they say that, the more you run into that fear and that crazy world of, oh, they might not be cast in a new movie, and I might, But you've got to remember you're going against your soul's calling.
Exactly. And the thing is, it's fear. It's that place is that there are some fears that are good, right? Because they would keep you being alert when you're driving, or don't go to the edge of the cliff. That's a good fear. I'm going to listen to that one. The other fears, you got to feel them and go for it anyway. But as you're talking about this idea of this emotional blackmail and then carrying it on yourself, I've shared with our listeners and with you before that I was in a cult when I was 18.
Oh my God, yes.
Yes.
That's
you want to talk about emotional blackmail.
Yeah. Yeah.
But fascinating story about that, because I was in it for 2 years. And so I was 20 going on 21 when I came out. And the whole point of it was that one of the things that kept you in there was you're kind of programmed to believe that you could not exist outside of them. You had to stay there. And if you didn't, you'd actually potentially die if you left. And so when I did leave, I left, I think it was in August. And by the end of September, I was in hospital. Very, very sick.
Wow. So you were going to die.
Exactly. I'll always remember I'm lying in the hospital bed thinking, oh my God.
It's true.
I stepped up because it took a lot of courage and a lot of effort to do what I did. But then to get that sick and have to have a huge surgery and actually I was really sick. But that initial feeling of, oh my God, they were right. And you can imagine how much that crazy train was going on my mind was
they would
shame and
escalate at a fast speed. Speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting because, the more you're thinking about that, I was thinking so that's extreme.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's an extreme one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the universe putting you in hospital and you're like, oh my God, now it's
it's coming
even
to
really
play.
happening. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Oh my God, it's true. It's true. I should have stayed there. I should have gone back. All those things. But even I worked with a woman when she was in her 60s many years ago, and her mother said to her, "You're never going to get a husband if you eat." Oh, I can't hang on. What was it? Something like, "You're never going to get a husband if you eat like that."
Oh gosh.
And so she tried to change it. So she was like 4. I don't know. Like she was
such a child. Oh my
Now
goodness.
that's emotional blackmail. So when she
Sure
came to me
is.
and she came to me when she was over 60, and she said, "Oh, I'm so big, I'm never going to get a husband, and and it's because my mum did this and all this." And I unfiltered went, "No, it's not your mum, it's you. It's because you eat like you eat enough for a rugby team and you don't fucking exercise." Like I said that to her, and then I'm like, "Oh, probably could have done that differently. Probably could have handled that one a little bit differently.
Could have done it with a wee bit
maybe
more
I
softness.
Maybe a little could have massaged that one in." And yes, it was your mum said that to you, and she'd never been kissed. Yes, but she had held, and that could be seen as emotional blackmail. Now her mother may have been annoyed that she was eating so much or something. I don't know, whatever. But and it's those little comments that she held on to and then blamed her mother all the way through her life. She'd never had a boyfriend, and it's mum's fault, and it's all this, and now that mum's dead, now I can finally do something about it. Well, actually you could have done something about it a long time ago. Yeah. But at that age, but that's an emotional blackmail of those little comments. And I remember Dr. John DeMartini saying his teacher said to him, "You're never going to amount to anything." Like, because you're stupid, you're never going to amount, and those things. And so you can either use it as a fuel to get you somewhere, or you can use it as a, "Oh my God, they're right."
Yep.
You can use both, however long. But, it's just interesting to see, she held on to this from age 4.
Yeah.
All the way through.
Sad because there was no signature moment for her in that story to realize, oh wait, I'm the boss of me. And so therefore anything that's limiting. So I just told you my story. Nobody would get to tell me that if I stay in their organization or if I leave their organization, I'm going to die. Nobody would ever get to tell me that. I'd just laugh in their face.
Yeah.
Right? Because
of that experience.
Exactly.
You had. I know, and it is incredibly sad to hear these things, that she's held on to that for so long. So, sometimes a passing comment that I make can be harsh. Now, I clearly heard my words when I said to her. Now, that's could have been a little bit of emotional blackmail. I'm sure we could have twisted that one into that. But there's those things that you say naturally because it feels right, and you don't know how it's going to impact the other person. But you can't filter, and please don't filter what you say. You can definitely mold and shift things said differently if need be, but you can't, if you want to say ABC, you've got to say ABC, because you are just going to you're going to come off worse off if you don't express the ABC to that person. Now, there's different ways you can say ABC. You can clearly do it with love, balloons, firing a cannonball, or what. But you must say your ABC to get through your own life, because you're emotionally blackmailing yourself if you're filtering everything you say to protect that person.
Absolutely. But here's the key piece in that, like I was saying about the pivot or signature moment to say, wait, I need to stay in this moment and react with what's happening here. What are the words that are coming here, rather than being stuck in my head and saying, well, that's terrible, and because then that's coming through filters and shame and guilt that's maybe kind of got into a juggernaut based on what you've experienced, and then you're kind of projecting that onto the person that you're technically trying to help, but you're not staying present enough to help them step out of their multiple layers of shame and my mother said this, so therefore I'm going to be that. Right?
Well, you can say, is this real? When somebody says something, go, is this real? Now that But you have to answer quickly.
Yes, you do.
Because if you go, is this real? Yes. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, maybe it is. Yes, this is real. It's happening. And then you start over analyzing.
Yeah.
And then you're going back to your own warped head. So is this real? If you can answer that straight away, yes, it's real. You can deal with it. No, you can deal with it. Like this is like, that's just a quick one.
Yeah.
Or take a deep breath, hand on the heart.
Yeah.
You know, is this important? Like they're just little things, you know, of, is this true?
Yeah. Is this true? Does this serve me in this moment? Is this in alignment with my core self?
Am I, how am I? And then you can start strategizing on how to move forward, how to get yourself out of it. And that's where Debz and Moira clearly come into it, come into the play.
Absolutely.
But emotional blackmail, other people do it, but we do it, and it's heavier when we do it. You know, I love hearing your story about the cult, because that is a massive one when you say to people, because you hand over your mind to somebody else.
Yeah.
That's what I would say if someone said a cult.
Yeah.
I would say you're handing over your mind to somebody else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Basically to do.
Yeah, you handed over complete authority in your life, not even just your mind, but because, and the way it was structured was that even if in your mind you were questioning things like, oh, that doesn't feel quite right, or oh, I don't like that you had to push it down because you're going to get punished or dealt with in some way.
You're not an individual.
No,
I would
say.
No, you lose you lose your uniqueness, your individuality,
your identity. Yes.
Yeah.
You just become this little yes man or woman.
Yeah. I remember, you know, like kids growing up, it's why? But why? Why do we need to put our shoes on? Why do we need to leave at this time? Why? And so the quality of the questions is, your life is based on the quality of questions. And I love that kids ask questions, but sometimes you're like, really, I've just heard why 10 times in the span of a minute.
Just because I said so.
Because. But why? Because why? You know, and that's just part of and we want to nurture them, but we also want to squash them sometimes. But that's that young age that they ask that why, because they're inquisitive. And your answer why today is different today compared to your why tomorrow, or compared to your why in 2 hours time when the kids have had a sleep and you've had a rest or whatever, you know, and you put it down to your PEMS.
Yes, your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual reality capacity, where you're at on each of those. I call them the 4 bodies.
Yeah, I love that because your answer today could be different to your answer now, purely because of your PEMS.
Yeah, because you know, today I'm feeling a bit tired because I hurt my back yesterday, so I'm feeling, so physically I'm a bit down. Emotionally I feel okay. Mentally I'm thinking of all the things I have to do this week. But it is, and that's actually part of that checking in on the scale of 0 to 10. Is I like to think of, how am I physically? How am I emotionally? How am I mentally? How am I spiritually? Because, you know, you were talking about when we were kids asking why. As adults, I actually really encourage people not to ask why, unless the why is, what is your why? Meaning, what's your mission? What's your purpose? What's your reasoning for being? Whereas why tends to lead us down a downward spiral, kind of like circling down the drain, right? Because if you say, why do I always make these bad choices? Why did I not recognize the signs of the situation I was in? Why did I overbook myself? Right? It's always going to give you a negative answer.
So what do you say to children when they go, why do I have to put my shoes on now? Why now? Why? Why now? Why? Mum, why? Auntie, why? And you're just like, because we're going to get out the door. Why?
Yeah, because we have to go
It's
out the door
because we're
because
running
it's
late.
wet.
Why?
It's wet and there's puddles and it's cold or maybe it's snowing and
now?
icy and because we've got a time. We're booked on
Why?
time.
Why we got time?
Because that's how
Moira's
we.
like,
That's...
thank God I didn't have you as a child growing up.
But do you follow what I'm saying? That as an adult, when people do that, like you're in your example earlier about the why didn't I recognize the signs and why do I always do it this way and why do I, right? It's psychologically that a why question goes to our midbrain, which is our emotional center, which that then says, oh, it's because I did something wrong. It's because I bought into my fears. It's because and so that's going to fuel that sense of shame. So I really, really encourage people still ask the questions, all of them, but shift it from, instead of saying why, say what. What is it that's making me do this over and over again? What do I need to really pay attention to in order to see the flags next time? What did this whole choice, what did it provide me with? You see, can you feel the energy of that?
Well, it's more an answerable question.
Yes, it's answerable, and it's much more, to me, it's almost like it's engaging you with the universe, because it's also kind of programming your subconscious to say, pay attention, because the truth or the answer is here. Whereas that why question is leading you right inside you.
Yeah. Which is all part of your emotional turmoil.
Yeah. Yeah. And that heaviness that this whole topic that we're talking about emotional blackmail, and that was a really good point that you said, that the propensity for us to emotionally blackmail ourselves if we come from a situation like that. And that was what I reflected on when you said that about my experience and how terrible I felt when I got so sick. Like, oh, it's my fault.
Well, yeah, because you can't blame anyone.
That's right.
At that time, you're like, oh, shite, it's me.
It's me.
I'm the one who's done it. Like, you can't go,
up.
Bob did that to me.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, poor Bob. But Bob did that to me, Bob the cat. But that is a look I trust people got some tips out of today. We do have to wrap this up. I am like, there's so much to talk. I think I say that every time. But let us know what value you got out of that. Let us know if you want to share some experiences with us, even if you just want to send it as a private message, you're welcome to do that. And let us know if you got some tips out here. Let us know what tips you have that get you out of that.
Yeah, and if there's any of the tips that we discussed that you would like us to expand on a wee bit too, or explain deeper.
Why?
Why would you do that?
yeah, please let us know, because I'd love to, because this is, to me, emotionally blackmail is such a dark thing. But I will say now, just from that talking that we've done for just over 30 minutes or so, it doesn't feel dark to me now. It just feels like feels like it's a word, and it's a word that's easily resolvable. But at the start I was this is a black vivid marker that can't come off. It was sitting at that space. But even just the unpacking of that, for me personally, it's just a word.
Good.
Even though, so I don't have that. Oh God. It is a heavy word. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
But it doesn't have to be. Yeah.
It's about choice, isn't it?
Absolutely. So thank you, listeners. Now I'm going to get everybody to rate themselves again. So where you were at the start of the call, maybe you've already rated yourself throughout the call. Where are you now on that scale of 0, zen, 10, tedious? Think of something for that one. Where are you on the scale of 0 to 10? So Moira, you were a 2 because you were the same as me. Where do you sit now with the 0 to 10?
Like you, I would say I'm at a 0. I actually really did enjoy the conversation and the unpacking of the darkness of it, because for me, it brought in that idea of the shame and the guilt, but just talking things through. And I've often said that sometimes all we need to let something go is to just have the awareness, speak it out, and there you go. You're at your zero or at peace, right?
And having the right people around, I think, is the other one as well.
Completely
those
agree.
people who can be around.
Yeah. Totally agreed.
Yeah. So I'm actually also going to say I'm a 0 because I feel completely neutral.
Good.
Say neutral with this.
Good.
So
well, good job that you and I surround ourselves with each other.
Yeah, phew, and we unpacked because it was very heavy. It was very
Mhm.
heavy. You know, if you listen to the start of this, it was very heavy. And I'm even looking at my words here, and it just feels neutral now. Just even checking in with the words that I've written down. Emotionally blackmail. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So we would love to know what you appreciated out of this, what you didn't appreciate. Send us a private message or bang it up on the notes, comments. That's fabulous. That is us over and out from Deliciously Motivated Mindset with Debz and Moira. Oh,
awesome.
I can say that. So thank you, everybody. Thanks, Moira. Thanks
Debz. Thanks, dear listeners. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.